Good afternoon, Seattle. Welcome back to RDWRER, the only Frasier podcast set in Scotland, hosted by a couple of Scottish lads.
That's probably true.
That is probably also true.
Yeah.
I did the brothers last time. That's probably
Yes.
true. We're just covering all the little niches.
Covering all the bases.
Yeah. You are back listening to somewhat of a Frasier retrospective. We are going through rewatching every single episode, one disc at a time, and giving our ultimately meaningless reviews of all of them. But we hope you find a little bit of joy in that.
Yeah.
Coming along on our journey, just having a bit of a larf. You know how it goes.
Just a little bit of a larf.
Just a little bit of a larf. There's actually a very lengthily Frasier retrospective video that keeps popping up in my recommended videos.
I think
on
I've
YouTube.
seen that. Is that the one? I can't remember the guy's name, but it's got like a little like blue jay icon
Yeah,
on the thumbnail. I watched that. It's really good.
yeah. I started watching
It's
it.
really very interesting. I would need to double check the name of it.
It's a good couple, like hour and a half,
It's a good-
2 hours
yeah.
long.
Yeah. Same guy did one on Cheers as well, and I think one on the Golden Girls. I haven't
Oh.
watched those two, but
We'll get the name
yeah,
at the end of
we
now
will do,
and drop a little note. Yes, I hope everyone is doing well and getting on with things and having a joyous old time. We're recording this episode quite a few weeks in advance,
Mhm.
so who knows what happens between now and then. We hope whatever state the world's in is not too bad.
It'll be all right. It's only a couple of weeks. What's the worst that can happen?
That's what we said in December of 2019.
Yeah.
Anyway, we are on season 7, disc 2.
Mm-hmm.
We are continuing with a slightly more mature season of Frasier. What did we decide last
Yes.
time? It has sort of a maturer tone, but with some sillier episodes in it.
I think the writing is a little bit less sophisticated. I think
Yeah.
to put a more negative spin on it. There are probably some people that would view it as being a lot more accessible and maybe having a slightly more adult sense of humor as opposed to the earlier seasons. Maybe that's just me being a bit pretentious. The earlier seasons probably had more jokes about psychiatry and more sort of jokes
Yeah.
about opera and things. We don't really get many of those anymore.
That's
A
true.
lot of them tend to be very easily interpreted, these jokes.
Yeah, but I think some of the subjects that they broach are a little bit more on the mature side,
Mm.
you know, especially when it comes to the overarching plots. They're, okay, maybe a little bit more sitcom-y,
Yeah.
but they're definitely more more archy as well. You know, we see a plot line going for several lengths of a season, if not multiple seasons, compared to earlier where we had one-off episodes for the majority of the time.
Yeah.
And this disc certainly does well to
Oh, it's all changing.
reinforce
It's all
that.
changing in this disc.
We've got we've got a couple of episodes,
Mhm.
and then we get into the good stuff. So we will start with a Tsar is born.
Mhm.
A Tsar.
A Tsar is born.
A
Are you supposed to pronounce pronounce the T?
Tsar?
You're the one that's actually studying Russian,
Well, I say studying.
learning on Duolingo or whatever.
Yeah, whenever the Duolingo bird doesn't threaten me.
So never.
I think it is like we would say like Tsar,
Tsar.
but it's pronounced Tsar.
Tsar.
I don't know.
Fair enough.
I don't know. Yes, as the title suggests, it's all about, well, somewhat about Russian royalty,
Yeah.
and their connection to Frasier and Niles and Martin, I guess, just the Cranes in general. We're brought in kind of in the middle of a plot. You know, there's been some off-screen shenanigans with Frasier, Niles versus Martin.
Mm-hmm.
They've had a bit of an argument about going to cousin Dodie's wedding.
The Western themed wedding.
Yeah. Frasier and Niles made up an excuse to. They had a conference or something to go to.
The Psychiatrists Guild.
The Psychiatrists
is that
Guild.
when they make the joke about the Psychiatrist Guild?
And Roz says, "Is that not the same Psychiatrist Guild that was going on during Alice's last birthday party.
Yeah.
Yeah. Martin is not best pleased when he finds out about this, as I suppose you wouldn't be.
Yeah.
You'd probably expect someone to just be honest with you. And yeah, they're having a bit of an argument ongoing for a couple of weeks now. I think it says it's been quite a while, and Martin's still not speaking to them.
Mhm.
We know the man can hold a grudge. We've
He
had
can hold a grudge
we've
for
had
a
whole
long
episodes on
time.
it. But thankfully, there is something to bring them together, and that something is the Antiques Roadshow.
Yeah.
Who'd have thunk it? I really love the scene of them watching Antiques Roadshow. It's so funny.
It is great.
Just the total difference between the generations of how they watch this show.
Mm-hmm.
Frasier and Niles obviously watching it because they're into their art and looking at the antiques themselves.
Yeah.
And Martin because he just thinks it's an entertaining game show.
He sees it as a game show, and he picks up on the he doesn't need to even look at the antique or know anything about the antique. He can go, that's fake, because I know the structure of the program.
Yeah.
He's looking at it totally differently.
Well, I was thinking even his detective sort of mindset,
Yeah.
I think helps with that kind of thing.
Probably.
Analyzing how the show is structured, analyzing what, the different not customers, I guess. What would you have on that? Competitors. I don't know, they're not really competing for anything.
They don't do the auctions on the Antique Roadshow, do they?
No,
it's not
just the valuations.
It's not like Bargain Hunt or
no,
whatever. It's Bargain Hunt that they do that when they're in teams.
Bargain Hunt
with David Dickinson.
Yeah. David Dickinson. Someone used to call me David Dickinson in high school because I always checked for the bargain items in the shop.
Nice.
Because I like a good bargain.
Everyone loves a bargain.
Stickers. Yeah, but everyone called me David Dickinson because of it. I don't know why. It's such an obscure reference for 12-year-old kids to be making.
Yeah, that's true.
Right, what can you do? Anyway, so they kind of reconnect a bit over that. I think Martin's implied to be still a bit mad.
Mm-hmm.
But they do have a good time playing a drinking game. Veneer,
oh man.
And at the end of the show, they discover that it's coming to Seattle next week, the Antiques Roadshow. They're filming in Seattle anyway. So Martin takes along this old clock in this. It's like a wee statuette of a bear with a clock in its stomach.
Yeah,
it's a wee bit tacky looking. But Martin decides to take it along because it's a family heirloom, blah, 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 blah. And it turns out it's worth, $25,000?
Yeah.
The valuator says. But what piques Niles and Frasier's interest is the fact that it has connections to the Romanov family. The Romanovs are real, aren't they?
Yeah.
They are a real family.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. My history is absolutely shocking.
So
especially my foreign history. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that the Romanovs were a real, they were real royalty back in, 1800s?
Yeah.
And obviously...
yeah, 1800. They were killed off kind of start of the Russian Revolution, so you're talking early 20th century.
Yeah, so turn of the century. And Frasier and Niles obviously want to investigate this. If they're related to royalty, oh man, what a boon that would be. And they employ the help of one Dr. Mishkin, I think they say his name is.
Mm-hmm.
They probably just looked at a list of Russian names and were like,
Mishkin.
That one.
Yeah.
And he tells this wonderful story of what's her name? And Catherine? No.
One of the
Catherine Romanov? No.
One of the
did you say her name was?
daughters. I did look it up, and it is actually they didn't have whichever member of the Romanov family it was that was apparently.
So this is the fictional.
Okay. The specific daughter in question wasn't real.
Yeah. I can't. Yeah. So it's their Frasier and Niles believe it's their great grandmother, and Dr. Mishkin's telling the story about this the Romanov woman who fell in love with an American man, and eventually abdicated, I think is the word, to America and came and lived there, and they're over the moon. Oh my God, we're related to the Romanovs, and it turns out that in fact that it wasn't the great grandmother. She was in fact the maid of the Romanov family who pinched all their jewelry.
Who stole the jewelry, stole the clock,
including the clock. And yeah, so they're descended from thieves.
Yep.
Well,
that's what happens. That's what happens when you go digging. When you go digging, trying to find information like that.
Yeah.
You wind up finding something you don't want to know.
And just as an added little cherry on the Russian cake, Martin has decided to let the boys deal with selling the clock so that, they convince him, obviously wanting to keep it if they're royalty, but whatever, they lie to him. Tell him they've sold it after it gets taken away by Dr. Mishkin. And Martin has spent all his profit on a nice new Winnebago.
Yep. $30,000 buys a lot of Winnebago.
It does. That's a big Winnebago as well. Yeah. We see it again later this disc.
We do indeed.
We get a pretty cracking episode out of it, actually.
It's sort of... We don't really get any Winnebago-centric episodes, but it shows up again quite a lot.
There's a few times. Yeah, there's a few times we get end of this season. Winnebago plays a big part. And later on again, I'm sure.
Yeah. Into the start of the next season, at least.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's sort of a side plot that does recur every now and then. So, yeah, it's such a bizarre episode. There's really not a lot to it. No. And it kind of... I noticed a lot in this disc in particular, the episodes are quite light on plot.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems like they've got this idea for a plot and they kind of just roll with that one plot line stretched out over a full episode rather than like building on it or anything. I don't know. That makes it sound like that's how stories work.
Yeah.
But the way that...
it's not like in a lot of the earlier episodes, they tended to have slightly more complicated farce kind of plots. These are very straight-laced.
Yeah.
Like, one thing happens, then the next thing happens, and there's no real confusion, I guess. It's all just pretty direct, A to B plot-wise.
To B resolved, and that's that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's what kind of brings this episode down for me. I think it is a very funny episode, particularly Martin. Watching the Antiques Roadshow is hilarious.
Oh, yeah,
Martin outsmarting the boys. There's the scene where they ask Martin if they're royalty or if they know anything about the Romanovs, and Martin just absolutely rips the piss out of them.
Yeah.
He totally just sarcasm level 100.
100%.
Lays into them.
Yeah.
And I love that. I think that's really funny. And just watching Frasier and Niles being taken down a peg, it's always good to watch.
It is.
Always like that.
Yeah.
I give it a very middle of the road 3. I think it's a decent episode.
Fair enough.
But it doesn't really have much to make it a great episode.
Yeah. Interesting.
Did you...
For once, I was slightly more generous than you were.
Slightly
I gave it
higher?
a 4.
That's not often that happens.
No.
You're usually a bit more critical.
I am. I think I do just think there are a lot of really good jokes when they're watching the Antiques Roadshow together. And it's like you can see how they're sort of rubbing off on each other. Like Martin getting a bit more sophisticated, and he says a couple of things in French, and he makes a reference. Yeah. He makes a joke about like, some bozo with a credenza doesn't know a Biedermeier from an Oscar Mayer, right? And it's like, compare that. This is something I thought interesting, making a reference to a credenza. Compare that to the very first episode where he comes in with his chair. He's trying to figure out where to put the chair in Frasier's apartment, and he says, "Where's the TV?" And Niles goes, "It's in that credenza." And Martin says, "Point at that thing."
He does.
He doesn't even know what a credenza is.
Do you think it's a Biedermeier?
Could be.
No,
it's probably not an Oscar Mayer.
It's not. I doubt it's an Oscar Mayer.
An Oscar Mayer. Oscar Mayer. Oscar my ass. Anyway, yeah, and it's like I thought that was kind of funny. I hadn't really considered that before watching it, but I suppose that is. I mean, it's probably just them using the pretentious word. I doubt it was intentional, but it is interesting seeing that.
Yeah,
how much Martin has changed.
There's a lot. Yeah, I think if you were to go back and just compare it very high level, Martin's attitudes now compared to Martin's attitudes in season 1, you'd obviously see a huge difference.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting comparing specific things.
Yeah.
It makes that gap between personalities feel a bit more wide.
Yeah.
Um,
And it goes both ways, because Niles knows what a rotary sander
he
is as well,
yeah.
which is funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I really enjoy the episode. I don't think it's perfect. I think it's, like you say, I think it's maybe the fact that the plot isn't particularly complicated. There's not much
It's not
to it.
hugely engaging, yeah.
I'm trying to remember if there's even a B plot.
There's this.
What's Roz up to?
No, Roz is just in it at the
Daphne?
start. Daphne gets the wedding dress from
Yeah.
Donnie's mum's second wedding
Yeah.
in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And she comes through in this like short mini skirt and like cropped sort of bralette thing
Yeah.
and a veil.
And the veil at the back.
Which Niles is obviously quite excited about seeing. But that's just like
Is
one
that the
scene.
only B plot? It's really just
Yeah,
that?
that's just the one scene.
Oh. Yeah, I get. Yeah, there's not an awful lot to it, and that kind of wears it down. But I think overall, it's very funny. I like the setup of the episode.
Yeah,
it's enough to give it a 4.
Is it this episode with the online dating? Roz's online dating? No,
It's one of these ones, but I can't remember exactly which. I think it might be the next episode.
Yeah,
I
don't
wanna say
remember.
It's the next episode. I do remember because it's got Noel's in it, and I did see that Noel.
that's really bad. That we should know that.
Patrick Kerr shows up on IMDb for one of the episodes in this disc, because I was doing my usual sweep over as I do. I think it's either this one or the next one.
I'm pretty sure it's not the next one.
Probably this
because
one.
that all takes place in the apartment. So maybe it is this one. Roz is online dating and meets. It is, because Niles comes in to Cafe Nervosa. He's like, "Oh, I just saw the Bidwell's guy."
Oh yeah.
And then they talk about the bear.
And then talk about the bear.
Yeah, so it is this episode that Roz has a little run in with.
Not an especially interesting
with the
plot.
Bidwell's man after online dating for a wee while.
Yeah.
This is obviously at a time where online dating must be brand new.
Yeah, late 1990s.
Yeah.
This was still like she's working on a big chunky laptop. It's not even like, you've got mobile phones for dating.
Would you even have Messenger at that point? Would there be messengers?
There would have been instant messaging, email at the very least.
Yeah.
But like, yeah,
nothing
not
popular,
like we have
nothing,
now.
Yeah,
no.
nothing accessible. Yeah, it's not a particularly interesting side plot anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, that's good. Strong start, even if yours was slightly stronger. That's fine. Moving on to The Late Dr. Crane. Now, this is... I was particularly harsh in this episode, right?
Yeah.
And I always think of it quite fondly when I remember it in my head. But then I watch it, and I remember that it's really not that interesting.
You remember why you don't like it.
It's a really boring episode. Like...
Yeah.
It's not particularly funny, and there's just nothing to it.
Yeah.
The only real interesting thing about it is the introduction of Mel.
Yep.
Who we will soon come to know as Niles' girlfriend. New girlfriend, Mel Karnofsky. Maris's ex?
Former plastic surgeon.
Former plastic surgeon, yeah. Who they meet in the hospital after a bit of a fender bender. Frasier breaks his nose after Niles puts his hand in front of him as they crash.
Yeah. Frasier's on fault.
Is it?
Yeah, 100. He's trying to take his jacket off while the car is moving.
Oh, yeah.
And he's not got his eyes on the road. And he's
like fiddling with the controls and everything.
Niles tells him to brake and he doesn't brake. And then they whack into it on a car.
Yeah. And, well, yeah, he drove into the back of someone, didn't he? So he's at fault.
Yep.
Tough. Classic Frasier.
Yeah.
But while they're at the hospital, they bump into some annoying random man who just starts blathering on about his divorce and whatever else, and they decide to just give up and leave. They can't be bothered waiting in the emergency room.
Yeah.
And this guy, when Frasier gets called, this guy sees that Frasier has now left and takes his space. And then promptly dies.
Yep.
Of a heart attack.
Drops dead of a heart
which
attack.
is pretty dark. If you think about it, there's just this random guest character introduced in one scene. He's just kind of played as just this kind of weird, annoying guy in the waiting room.
Yep.
And then he dies.
And he dies.
Of a heart attack.
It could happen at any time.
It's pretty cruel. But yeah, they obviously see the name as Frasier Crane and think that Frasier's died. So obviously all the news, all the media is reporting on it and everything. And oh no, Frasier Crane has died. And no one really seems to care all that much, to be honest.
Yeah.
they're more caring of Martin's situation. All the buddies at Duke's, not Duke's, McGinty's, were buying him beers and everything when he was sitting at home and realized that something might have happened to his son. Mm-hmm. They're all buying him beer and everything. And Frasier kind of goes on this weird sort of existential middle-age crisis-y voyage, worrying that he's not done enough with his life.
Yeah.
He's just kind of bummed out, and he's bumming everyone else out, and he bums me out when I watch this episode.
Yeah.
It's just... It doesn't break any new ground. I know we've... Like, even in the last disc, we had the Carlos and the Chicken episode with the prank show. Mm-hmm. And that kind of rehashes a lot of old plot points.
Yeah.
This one does the same.
It makes me think of... I can't remember.
Death Becomes Him?
Death Becomes Him in season 1.
Yeah.
Frasier suddenly becomes paranoid that he's not living his life to the fullest, or he becomes a bit obsessed with death for 10 minutes, and then he decides to just live life while he's alive.
And then he just kind of moves on.
And then it's never mentioned again. It's...
I don't know. It also reintroduces Regan.
Mm-hmm. But only off screen.
But off screen.
Yeah.
And it ends on like a cliffhanger that they then don't address.
They don't address until when she finally does show up on screen again, which I think is the next disc, or maybe the last disc.
It's really weird. It's just... It feels like they were filling in an episode, and they were just kind of chucking an idea on a page and just did what they could with it.
Yeah.
Add in that little side plot with Niles meeting Mel, and then called it a day. And I know I hate insulting the writers or criticizing them or whatever.
Yeah.
But they dropped the ball on this one.
Yeah.
It's just a really dull episode, and honestly, for me, if it wasn't for the introduction of Mel being pretty interesting, it'd be a 1.
Yeah.
Easily.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's pretty much exactly how I feel about it as well.
Yeah.
It's like there's not... Yeah, the plot doesn't do anything new. It doesn't do anything interesting. There's not even any especially funny jokes. I'm struggling to think of any. I think there's a few in the scene when Mel is introduced. I think there are some quite good scenes between Mel and Niles, in that they kind of have a bit of a laugh together because they're clearly so fussy and they're clearly kind of in the same social circles and stuff like that, and that lends a little bit to the humor. But beyond the character of Mel being introduced, played by Jane Addams, we should mention, because she is going to be a recurring character for the next...
Wonderful Jane Addams.
Next
does a fantastic job of creating a character everyone hates.
Yes. Yeah.
Don't worry, that's the point. We're supposed to dislike her. It's fine.
Not a criticism of Jane Addams.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just there's really not anything especially interesting. They kind of have this little joke of Niles keeps getting plastic surgery, like minor plastic surgery, because he's trying to drum up the courage to ask Mel out.
He gets Botox and he gets a wee mole
removed, and
it doesn't... I kind of get where they're going with that, but Niles doesn't seem the type to just get plastic surgery for the sake of it.
Yeah.
Even, he's had no problem asking people out before. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It feels a little bit out of character. I guess maybe he's just sort of intimidated by her.
Yeah, possibly.
I don't know.
But yeah, and then we get Frasier becomes obsessed with, what is it? He thinks he's going to start to sail, and he's going to become a jockey, and he's going to,
Uh-huh.
or I don't know,
No, he's not going to
become a jockey. He's going to become a stable owner or whatever.
Yeah.
But and he's going to take up whitewater rafting and retrace Lewis and Clark's steps or whatever. It's like he's just in that way that probably a lot of people do. They're like just being big talk, and it just doesn't make for interesting TV.
Yeah,
especially.
I agree. It's just a really filler episode.
Yep.
So
yeah.
Yeah.
So a 2 from you.
2 from me.
2 cups. Same.
2
cups from my end.
2
as well.
for me. 2 for you. To me. To you.
To you. To me.
All
right.
Yeah. I'm kind of keeping an eye on Mel this rewatch.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've always written her off. Like all previous rewatches, I just kind of write her off completely.
Yeah.
As just this dislikable Lilith / Maris-esque character that is just supposed to almost mimic them and create a source of conflict in Niles' relationship.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think the fact that that's how we're supposed to feel,
mm-hmm.
it's kind of making me enjoy her character a little bit more and appreciate it a bit more.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm keeping an eye on her this time. And yeah, as you say, Jane Addams is wonderful. I think she's just great. Yeah. So yeah, we'll keep an eye out for more Mel coming soon to a small screen TV near you.
Yeah.
Or big screen. Maybe you watch it on the big screen.
Watch it on the big screen.
Yeah.
Got a big home cinema system watching Frasier on it.
Jealous. That's the dream.
That is the dream, man.
Yeah. Okay. The Apparent Trap.
My fave's back.
Yeah.
It's Lilith.
Here she is.
Again.
Brought Freddie with her this time.
Yeah.
We get a full reunion episode. The full, I was going to say Crane. Sternin.
Yeah.
Frederick Sternin? Does he take? Which name does he take?
Frederick Crane.
He is Crane. Okay. The two of them are in town for Thanksgiving. Lilith was supposed to be dropping Freddie off and visiting a colleague or whatever, but it fell through because the rats. he studies rats, and one of them's got an infection, or he picked up an infection from them.
Yeah.
Frasier makes the joke. It's like nothing a rat's ever passed on hasn't been cleared up in a few days. Like, oh.
Yeah.
So Frasier offers to let her stay. There's the sort of standard hilarity between Martin and Daphne and Lilith.
Yeah.
They do amp that up a little bit with Eddie refusing to come into the house and Martin calling her a witch and everything.
Yeah.
But if you'll remember, this is the first time we've seen Lilith since the little incident with Niles.
Yep.
In season 5. She's not in season 6 at all. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, season 6 is the only season that she's not in. And there's obviously a little bit of awkwardness to deal with there. But they kind of write it off quite quickly.
They do.
But they address it. I guess
they do have a few jokes building from that, but it's not like it's a big thing. It's not like the focus of the whole episode.
Yeah. They sort of come in and sit down and just start chatting, and Frasier's a bit irked by that. He preferred it when they were
at each other's throats.
Yeah, sniping and having little arguments. So they do kind of throw a few little jabs at each other. What is it Niles says? I learned that if you kiss her too fast, you get an ice cream headache. And she responds with, well, I learned that I've got twice your upper body strength. So shut your pie hole.
Yeah.
Delivered just perfectly by Baby Newark.
As always, perfect delivery.
But yeah, the two of them are in for the weekend. Freddie is gunning for a new motorbike. A new dirt bike?
A mini bike.
Mini bike.
I don't really know what that is.
Well, you get the little ones you get. they're sort of they're like 25cc or something,
Right.
and I think under 16s can ride them, or in certain places they can, and on private property and stuff. So I imagine that's what it is.
Yeah, maybe.
And it's kind of offhandedly mentioned at the start of the episode, and then gradually throughout the episode, it's revealed that Freddie is manipulating his parents into trying to get back together, only knowing that they will not get back together.
Yeah.
But they'll make they'll feel guilty for telling Freddie that they will. It's very confusing. I don't think I could form a plot like that when I was, 9, 10, however old Freddie is. Which I actually quite like. I like that they show how clever he is.
Yeah.
They've made like offhanded jokes, like him, understand, like Frasier makes a joke about Oedipus.
Yeah.
And Freddie responds to that. So it's kind of, it's those kind of jokes, and him writing
being the top of his class and
satirical essays on Pocahontas and things like that. So it's all very high level, like he is a smart kid jokes. But here we actually see that he is a smart kid, and he knows how to behave in order to get what he wants. Obviously Lilith actually, Frasier falls for it.
Yeah.
It's Lilith that manages to see through his little ploy and call him out on it. But he almost gets that dirt bike, mini bike, whatever. He almost gets it.
He does.
Clever clogs. It's a really comforting episode, right? And I can't remember what episode I said about this before. I'm sure there was one. It feels just nice and cozy. It's all set in the apartment. Yeah. They're all just sitting around. They have dinner. They have a bottle of wine. It's all just sitting and chatting. It's not quite a bottle episode. Because there is some back and forth in other rooms and everything. Well, I suppose even dinner party goes into Daphne's room. So you could argue that it's a bottle episode, I guess. Yeah. But it just feels very cozy. No, it's not a bottle episode. I stand corrected, because we have a scene at KSL at the start.
We do that, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not a bottle episode.
Because you need to have some raws at some point.
Yeah. But almost.
Yeah.
Almost. And it's just really, it feels very casual, Lilith coming over and staying, which I really like, because they often make a big deal out of sort of her guest appearances. Yeah. And I kind of like that they play it here as she is just she could be any recurring character. Someone that's just in every other episode, She's not been in it for 2 seasons and just kind of slides right back into this episode where it just feels so natural, her being there.
Yeah, it's not like the first couple of times when she appears, when she's very much like a guest star.
Exactly. So I think props to the episode for that. I think they do that really well.
It definitely. I always think that it manages to really do a good job of conveying like the feeling of like a special occasion. I mean, we don't celebrate Thanksgiving here in this country. We don't have Thanksgiving, but like it has that like Christmassy sort of feel where it's like the family's all together. It's a special occasion. They're just sort of like they're sitting around. They're like having a glass of wine together. They're having a laugh. Frederick's there, and they don't often see the different members of the family. And you see like Niles and Frederick having a bit of like a bonding. They're playing video games together. You know? It's nice. It's like that's something that we don't see an awful lot in the show. And it's obviously like it's a special occasion. It's a Thanksgiving episode. We're gonna have the family together.
So I mean, nice. It's just nice and cozy.
Yeah, I agree.
It is good. It is good. But it's not great. Well, maybe you disagree. What do you think?
I do think that it's quite mediocre in that there's not an especially interesting plot. There's probably a lot more they could have done. There's only this is I think one of maybe 3 episodes that we have both Lilith and Frederick as guest stars. I can only think of 2 others.
Lilith Thanksgiving.
And then there's Star Mitzvah in, what's that, season 10?
10 or even 11 maybe.
And it feels like they could have done a lot more than what they did. The whole, like, child of divorce tries to get the parents back together. As much as it's more complicated than that, isn't an especially interesting plot.
No, that's true. It is quite a bit cliche.
Yeah. But like I say, it's nice seeing the all the characters together. You get like Frederick has a chance to spend time with Niles, which we don't see an awful lot of.
Yeah.
And like Niles and Lilith together again, having slept together the last time they saw each other, it leads to some good jokes, and it just in the end for me just lands in the middle, and I give it a 3.
3. I agree.
Good.
Yeah. I think it does suffer a bit from being quite plot heavy, which I know is a bit of the opposite of what I said right at the start of this episode. But what I mean is, when I say plot heavy, I mean they focus quite hard on telling us every step of the way when Frederick's doing things. And you know, Frederick opens a bottle of wine and then convinces Frasier that it was Lilith, and Lilith that it was Frasier, and he kind of does that a few times, and it builds up the plot. It doesn't really give us much of a break. I don't know.
Well, I suppose it takes time to explain that, because you need to spend a good minute or two each time he does it.
Yeah.
So it's, 2 minutes with Frasier, and then 2 minutes with Lilith, and he does that maybe 3 times. So you're talking, at that point, that builds up to half the episode is just Frederick telling lies to his parents. And that doesn't leave an awful lot of room for anything particularly interesting.
Yeah, no, I know, and I get it, and it's not awful, it's just it doesn't leave a whole lot of room for particularly humorous moments. It does, focus on the plot a little bit more than I would have liked. I think they could have done a bit more with even, I suppose it might be difficult with like Freddie as a child actor, I guess, but like more sort of farcical, like him, running into the kitchen, grabbing a bottle of wine, coming out, popping it, and like putting the tablecloth down, lighting candles and stuff. Yeah, a la David Hyde Pierce and
like in the Marriage Counselor.
Yeah. So, but I get why they couldn't really do stuff like that. That's fair enough.
We sort of get one shot of that when he's like turning the lights down. Yeah, and then Frasier and Lilith both come in at the same time and think the other one did it. I think it would have been a bit more fun if we didn't keep seeing it from both angles, and we got like maybe Frederick's talking to Frasier for a little while, and kind of says like, Mum really wanted you to help out writing this paper, which is like the pretense that he has writing this report on whatever it is.
Divorced parents.
And then the bottle of wine thing. The next time that he does it, you see him talking to Lilith, and as the audience, we're not explicitly shown that he's lying. And we can kind of allow ourselves to believe that maybe they are actually sort of flirting with each other or wanting to spend time with each other, and it's not all just a big lie from the get-go. But then, obviously, when it's revealed that it is, that would sort of fall into place, and that'd make a bit more sense plot-wise to the audience.
Just a little bit more of mystery to it, I guess. I don't know.
And it would lend a little bit of time to put in some more jokes instead of it just being pretty solid exposition. Yeah,
I do like Niles' reaction to hear when they first pretend that they're going to get back together to call Frederick's bluff. Niles walks into the room and just has this, I don't even know what you would describe it as, a face of absolute shock. Yeah, and like disbelief. What's this joyous news I hear? Walks out of the apartment without his jacket or anything.
When he goes to leave, and Frederick's like, "Don't you want to take your jacket?" "No, thank you."
Yeah, it's the way it's brilliant.
Poor Niles.
Yeah. No, it's middle of the road episode. Some good, some bad. I think it's warranting of that 3. The next episode, Back Talk. The first of a 2-parter. Yeah. But we will treat them both separately. It's not like a long episode. It is distinctly 2 parts. Yes. Another pretty boring episode, if I'm being totally honest with you,
Mm-hmm.
really not much happens throughout the episode. It's Frasier's birthday. He's woken up by little Eddie in a party hat, and taken through to the kitchen table where Martin's got a little cupcake for him, lights a candle in it. And as Frasier's blowing out the candle, his back seizes up. He's had some issues with his back recently. And the rest of the episode is him kind of dealing with this back pain while trying to go to work. And then he's trying to deal with Daphne eventually leaving to go and live with Donnie after they get married. And he's kind of dealing with these different stresses in his life as physical pain. Yeah, and it's just that's kind of the whole episode until Roz suggests a form of therapy where he lists all of his problems out loud to relieve the stress. So while he's doing that, he's sort of lamenting the fact that Daphne's leaving and says that he loves Daphne. She overhears that and thinks of it as like a romantic love, whereas he just means it as love as a friend.
Yeah.
And so it adds this kind of level of farce. I'm trying to think, there must be a word for like farce light, where it's not a full on farce.
A farcette.
A farcette, where it's a little bit of farce, because they've done this so much, and we keep talking about these sort of light farces.
Yeah.
Where it's not full on. Farcette. Let's go with farcette
it's
for now.
It's basically just one person misunderstands something. And
Exactly.
That's what carries
Yeah,
the plot.
yeah.
It's not like a full mistaken identity, all these different people believing different things.
Yeah. It's just the one person. And yeah, and the last sort of 5 minutes or so of the episode are Daphne not knowing how to react to this. Well, Frasier offers on her behalf to give him a massage to help his back, and inadvertently, after having taken a couple of like strong tranquilizers, reveals to Daphne that Niles is in fact the one who is in love with her romantically. Oh boy,
that's big dramatic reveal.
7.5 seasons.
Yeah.
Or well, six and
six
a half, I guess. Seasons leading up to this, all this mystery, and she's finally found out through a drugged up Frasier. Who would have guessed? It doesn't. I always forget there's that last little scene. I always think it ends on that cliffhanger. Yeah, but it doesn't. There's a last little scene where they're celebrating Frasier's birthday. They have a cake. Eddie's got his little party hat back on, and Niles comes over to bring his gift. And there's this sort of little tense moment at the door where Daphne knows now, but Niles doesn't know that she knows. Yeah, and he compliments her hair, and she kind of stops and looks at him, and there's this like little moment of longing. Yeah, and that kind of leads into the next episode. But it's, to me, this episode is just 90% build up to that reveal. And then there's that reveal. Yeah. And that's how I view this episode. Like, there's really not much else to enjoy about it other than Eddie in a party hat. Yeah. Which is just adorable. Of course.
Do you ever put a party hat on your dog?
I have. Yeah. On his birthday. He's got a little party hat for his birthday. We make him a cake.
So cute.
And put his hat on. And then
wasn't it made of like duck, the cake?
Yeah, it's like duck. It's like a sort of cake mix, pre-cake mix. You just add eggs and water. Yeah. But it's like duck pellets. It's like like sort of condensed pellets of like duck feed. Yeah. Not duck feed. Duck flavored feed, right, yeah. Whatever, like kibble, and then you bake it into a cake. And I've got a little mold shaped like a bone, and put some strawberries on top. So cute. And a little candle. My dog's cuter than Eddie.
Yeah, I mean, I agree because I'm his uncle, and that means I have to talk about how much I love him and how I think he's just the best boy.
He is the best boy. But yeah, Eddie in this episode he's the best boy of this episode.
That I do feel the same way generally. Like, it's pretty obvious that they had the concept of like Daphne needs to find out in order to get the second half of the season's big plot arc on the go. How are we going to get her to find out? Because, you know, Niles isn't going to say anything.
Yep.
Martin, Frasier, Rose, one of them has to say something, but it needs to be under the right circumstances. So what do? Get Frasier on some painkillers.
Yeah.
So then they need the pretense of the hurt back, and then it's just like a very sort of straightforward, like, what can we do as an episode that is going to be like Frasier's on a bunch of painkillers for his hurt back.
Yeah.
They don't do anything interesting with that premise, really. They just kind of go the very obvious route of like he injures his back doing nothing.
It's just he's just getting old.
Suddenly his back is sore.
Yeah.
And then he takes a bunch of painkillers, and then he's getting a massage, and he blurts out a secret. And it's like that's really all the episode is. There's nothing more to it than that. Which lets it down.
Does anything save it for you?
I don't know. Really, I mean,
it's pretty much all down for me.
I'm very tempted to give it a 3 because I think the big plot revelation is very important, and I think that always gets a sort of like, no matter how many times I've seen it, no matter how many times I've watched the whole show start to finish, it always gets a laugh out of me when they have the reveal. It always gets like a gasp out of me when it's like Frasier says it out loud and Daphne has the look on her face, and then the last bit when Daphne looks at Niles knowing what we've all known this whole time, and that is interesting to see, and I like it, but I don't even know if I can give it a 3. Maybe just have to give it a 2.
If you give it a 2, you'd be matching with me again.
You giving it a 2?
I'm giving it a 2. Yeah. I think it is deserving of no more than 2 cups of coffee.
Yeah.
I think that's about as much as I could give it. And even that is a bit of a stretch. Mm-hmm. But little Eddie in the party hat.
Yeah.
And his little voice box thing that Martin radios into, which is funny.
Doing his best Scooby-Doo impression.
Yeah. And the scene at the end when we see that moment of sort of revelation almost on Daphne's face about what's going on. I think those bring it up enough not to be a 1.
Yeah.
I don't think I could find anything else to give it more than a 2.
I think I'm going to stick with my immediate feeling, and I'm going to give it a 3.
Okay.
But I do agree with you. It's not a high 3.
Yeah.
It's definitely a lower end of the 3. You know?
Scraping by.
So.
Okay. The next episode, in my opinion, is a significant improvement. The fight before Christmas. Because it's the night before Christmas, but it's a fight. The fight.
Yep.
Wasn't
there also? Oh no, there was not. I was going to say, wasn't there also an episode of Community that was called The Fight Before Christmas? But there's not, because it was always named like, it was like class titles.
Now
all of the Community episodes, but there is an episode of Community about them fighting immediately before Christmas.
There is. I'm going to admit to being a bit of a naughty boy, and I've never. I downloaded the first couple of seasons of Community when I watched it, so I didn't have the episode titles on, so I have no idea what any of them are called.
No, I don't actually. I know that like the whole gimmick of the episode titles.
They have, yeah.
It was like
Spanish 101
and like
English 305.
It was
like
Introduction to Criminal Psychology or whatever.
To get more and more bizarre. Yeah.
I can't actually remember what that episode is called. It's probably called like Contemporary Religious Studies or something like that.
There will be 100%.
It's going to be called something like that. Yeah. But it's they have this. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So it continues pretty much right after where it left off. Back talk is it must be set between Thanksgiving, which I think's the 24th.
Third.
It's the third Thursday of November, isn't
November. It's not a
Um,
set date.
And then the fight before Christmas, obviously, set around Christmas. So you're talking a couple of weeks at most in between the two. And Frasier's preparing for a big party. That's the sort of crux of the episode. He is inviting the whole building. He's got a bunch of people. He's getting everything prepared. He's doing everything to make it the craziest, most whacked out party that Elliott Bay Towers has ever seen. And surrounding all this, we've got Daphne, who now knows about Niles' feelings, so she's feeling a bit, ooh, what's going on? Speaks to Roz about it. Roz obviously knew as well, and they have a little chat and don't really know how to respond. But I kind of like that they establish that early.
Yeah.
Because it means that we're not... It means that it's not Daphne by herself dealing with it. We're not just getting Daphne looking off into the distance, staring at Niles all the time.
We can actually get her saying things out loud.
Exactly.
And expressing how she feels. Yeah.
Which is really good. And I like that they do it early as well. It's like the first scene of the episode is Roz coming in, delivering the punch bowl, wassail bowl.
The wassail bowl.
And then Daphne grabs her and they have a chat and catch each other up. So I do like that. And then we've got sort of a third-ish plot of Niles and Mel. Niles has gone to comfort Maris after Yoshi, their gardener, died. He was trimming the hedge maze and had a heart attack. The EMTs didn't stand a chance.
I know.
Poor Yoshi.
I know. That's
what a way to go, alone in the middle of a hedge maze. Hedge maze? Hedge maze. Oh man, that'd be gutting.
Yeah.
Poor Yoshi. But he doesn't want to tell Mel about it because obviously ex-wife, ex-client for Mel, or patient even.
Frasier convinces him not to tell Mel, which makes it even worse. I mean, arguably it is maybe the right thing to do. I think you could argue that it's a bit of a white lie. I think honesty is the best policy. I think you would definitely want to...
Especially in this situation.
With a, that's not a lie you want to get caught in. No. Regardless of how genuinely innocent the situation is. If you get caught lying about it, it's only going to look bad. So, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't ever lie about something like that. Not that I would lie because I wouldn't go back and visit an ex anyway.
Yeah.
But if it was something like this and they were like, oh, I desperately need to see you, a friend we both had has died, need to catch up or whatever, you wouldn't lie about that because there's no reason to lie.
Yeah.
It's a perfectly justified reason to see someone. So it's really weird that Frasier kind of convinces him and Niles goes along with it as well. Yeah. And unsurprisingly, that leads to a bit of tension between Niles and Mel because she finds out.
Yep.
Almost immediately. She figures out something goes wrong. Niles doubles down on his lie and then gets found out on that one as well, which makes it just 2 times, 4 times, 8 times worse.
Oh yeah, it's exponentially worse.
Exponentially
each
is the
time
word,
you lie, you get caught.
So he is, she breaks up with him at the KCL office party, which Frasier is stealthily trying to wriggle his way out of to get back to his own hosted party. Niles is kind of alone on... It's not Christmas Eve. It's just a couple of weeks before Christmas, isn't it? It's
the lead up to Christmas.
Yeah. Still sad on the lead up to Christmas being dumped, but it's his own fault, so limited sympathy. And from here we get this slight shift in dynamic from Daphne, because before obviously she's with Donnie, Niles is with Mel, and then she finds out that they've broken up and now knows, oh, he's single and he's in love with me. How do I respond to this? What do I do?
Yeah.
And so after a bit of a mishap with the gifts, Niles gives Daphne the gift that was meant for Mel after he drops Daphne's gift. He kind of creates this situation where he needs to speak to her alone, and Daphne's getting all worked up and like, oh my god, what do I say? What do I do? And she goes in firm that she's going to just be upfront and say, oh no, don't want to pursue this. I'm in love with Donnie. This can't go any further. And then she doesn't.
Yeah.
She doesn't say anything. And Niles sort of cuts in and says, look, it's all about the gift. Because remember, he knows nothing about Daphne at this point. He knows he doesn't know that she knows. And she's kind of shocked by this and surprised. And then for the last couple of scenes of the episode, we do get Daphne looking at him a bit funny again.
Timing a bit.
Especially after Mel comes back.
Yeah.
And forgives him.
Yeah.
For his little Maris mishap earlier.
They don't say explicitly how she's feeling. It's not like she goes to Roz and says like, "Oh no,
Daphne." No, yeah.
But I mean, I'm looking at it here on this little synopsis on Wikipedia. Yeah. Daphne is surprised at how upset she is. It's like she's totally expected that she was just like, she doesn't have feelings for Niles, so she can just go in and say, I know how you feel about me, but I'm not interested, whatever. And then she's now shocked herself because she's like, but that's not true. I don't not have feelings for him.
Yeah.
Confirming what I've theorized all along. She's in love with him, and she has been this whole time.
Yeah, so we don't know what the outcome of Dials or Naphne is going to be. Yeah. And, we've forgotten as well. Well, I've forgotten. I'm the one doing the talking here. Cam Winston.
Cam Winston's
first mention of Cam
dropped.
Winston.
We love Cam Winston.
He is hosting a rival party upstairs, and all of the guests are going to that, and no one comes to Frasier's party.
Yeah,
which is really quite sad.
It is.
But when someone says, "What is it? Cam Party 2000." He lives in what is it? What is it called?
Winston Party 2001.
Winston
Party 2000.
Winston Party 2000.
Presumably that means he is in the penthouse. Because this is something that we have talked about before. There's a bit of confusion about the layout of the apartments. Because Frasier isn't necessarily on the top floor. He's definitely not on the top floor because he does have upstairs neighbours. But there's implication that the apartment directly above him is the penthouse. But then there's also
that's true.
References that it isn't, because they don't explicitly say that Cam is in the penthouse. His apartment seems to just be the same as
that's true.
Frasier's apartment, but
remember Freddie Chainsaw?
Freddie Chainsaw was in the penthouse. Was in the penthouse
above Frasier, directly above Frasier.
That directly above Frasier?
Well, that's what's implied anyway.
Yeah.
So then maybe they converted it from a full penthouse.
If Frasier is 1901, and Cam is 2000, that to me would imply that there's no other apartments on that floor. There's no 2001, 2002, 2003. It's just 2000 is the penthouse. Potentially. Don't know. It's a mystery.
Yeah.
We need to get someone like Joe Keenan on the line and be like, hey, what's the deal with the...
I don't know who that is.
He's one of the writers.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't think he wrote any of these episodes, but he's one of the writers.
Who wrote this episode? John Sherman, tell us.
Yes.
What was your plan for Cam Winston?
Yeah, John.
Be more explicit. Let us know the layout of the buildings that you write for. But yeah, thankfully Martin works his police magic and calls in his buddies at the fire department and alerts them to the amount of people in Cam's apartment, so they all have to come flooding back downstairs into Frasier's for free booze and carols and Russian roulette or whatever else they're going to play.
Savory lamb tenders.
Yeah. There's a lot happening in this episode. Compared to the previous few, it's kind of all go.
It's a more filled out plot.
Yeah.
It's not, it doesn't feel like too much. It's definitely a lot more balanced.
It's well paced. It's got a lot of humor. I really like this episode.
Yeah, I think it's good.
One of the
one of the stronger Christmas specials.
Yeah, definitely.
There are definitely a few that I put as 5s, but I would not put this one at a 5. I would give this a 4.
A 4. I
personally.
gave it a 4 as well. Yeah, I think it's... My issue with it being a Christmas episode is that it's kind of held back a little bit by the previous episode.
Yeah.
By the fact that it's a part 2.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have that full Christmas special vibe.
Yeah.
But as a standalone or as an episode set at Christmas, I think it's great. Just as a Christmas special, it kind of falls down a little bit with all the other plot points.
It could very easily not be a Christmas episode.
Yeah.
The party could be for anything else, and it wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah. It's good. It's definitely significantly stronger than Back Talk than part 1. And it's just really good episode. Don't know.
Yeah. It's something that annoys me. It's not so much that it annoys me about the episode necessarily, but every Christmas I'll sit and watch through all of the Frasier Christmas specials.
Yep.
So I've seen this one a lot more than I have seen Back Talk, because I'll always watch this one and I'm not going to proceed it.
I get in the middle of nowhere. Yeah.
But it is weird watching a part 2 without watching the part 1 first.
You get a little recap at the start.
You do get a recap. That's what it's there for, I suppose. But yeah.
But no, I know what you mean.
I know what you mean about it. That, like, having the second part of a 2-parter be a Christmas episode when the first part isn't and doesn't even have any allusions to Christmas at all, even though it's...
You could put it literally anywhere.
Presumably like 2 days before the Christmas decorations go up and everything's getting kicked off.
It's not dated at all.
And the Frasier's birthday is supposedly in March, but we'll move past that.
Broken canon, yeah. No, we're definitely getting a bit more of a mix when it comes to I was going to say highlights of the episodes, because I think, and I don't mean like our highlights, I mean like in general, like the best bits of the episode, because we're getting a lot more chance for the actors to show us their stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what I mean when I said at the start about more maturity in the episodes, is we're getting a lot better acting from like Jane Leaves.
Yeah.
David Hyde Pierce. There's a lot of like nuanced acting that they need to do to convey the emotions of these characters. No, that was a very fancy sentence, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I'm not usually that fancy.
Nuance. That is a fancy word.
But it really is like all these little subtleties, like Daphne looking at Niles, the way that Niles speaks to Daphne. These little bits really like elevate certain episodes, especially over the next couple of discs.
Yeah.
And it kind of takes the focus away from the humor in some places. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, there are still funny episodes, but just for me, watching the two of them interact becomes more of a highlight of the episode than even like the funniest bit in it.
Yeah.
And I think this is definitely one of those episodes. Whereas we got a lot of funny moments, Martin's little quips, dancing Santa.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good bits, but Daphne and Niles is what that takes the top prize.
It does.
Yeah. But we'll take a break now from Daphne and Niles for an episode or two. The final episode on this disc, RDWRER Road Warrior is what it's supposed to be. But if you've seen the title of the episode written down, you'll see that it's written like a license plate. And that is because we're back in Martin's Winnebago for a New Year's extravaganza.
The Road Warrior.
Oh, yeah. Now, I mentioned last week, and I think previous week as well, about season 7 being the first season that I watched when it was like on air, or when it was on air in the UK anyway, so probably like half the year after it actually came out. And I specifically remember Road Warrior being Road Warrior and A Tsar Is Born are the 2 episodes that I distinctly remember watching.
Yeah.
But more Road Warrior. I remember watching all the way through, and it was the first episode that I properly watched. So I have such a soft spot.
That's
for this
fun.
episode.
The first episode of Frasier you ever watched.
Yeah. I think, well, first episode I can remember sitting down and watching the whole way through.
Yeah.
I had no idea what was going on. I thought Niles was ill when I was watching it. I mean, I would have been, 5 or 6 when it came out. And throughout the episode, Niles is meant to be like tired.
Yeah.
But he's shown very like pale faced and sort of bagged under his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So in my head, I always remember him as being like sick.
Yeah.
So there's like little differences that I always love going back and rewatching. I'm like, I remember when I thought that this was this and that was that and whatever. But there you go. That's just a little bit of Happy Brothers trivia for you. It's not really relevant. Do you know what the first episode of Frasier you watched was?
I'm fairly certain it's the pilot. The
Really?
Big Son. I don't think I ever actually watched. Like, I was kind of like to a base level familiar with the show, in that I knew that it was a sitcom.
Mm-hmm.
I knew. I had the setup. I knew that the setup was that there was like 2 men and 2 women, and the men were brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I didn't really have a comprehension of Martin.
Okay.
And I thought that it was like Roz was Frasier's wife and Daphne was Niles' wife, and the 4 of them lived together.
Right, okay.
I don't know where that came from, but I remember like seeing like snippets, and like that's what I thought the plot was. But I think the first episode that I actually sat down and watched would have been when we got it on the DVD.
On DVD.
And I actually sat down when I was old enough to understand what was going on, when I was maybe like 8, and sat down and watched the very first episode.
Huh. There you go.
I never really thought about it. I probably did see like clips. I can vaguely remember watching other shows that were coming out around the same time, like
it was
Friends and Will and Grace.
Yeah, and it was on syndication on Channel 4 in the UK.
Channel 4 on like Thursday nights or Friday nights or whatever.
It was on all the time in the morning and in the evening. So I've no doubt that you would have seen bits and pieces here and there.
It's still on like every morning. It's like 2 episodes every morning.
Yeah.
For the people out there that actually still watch terrestrial television and don't just stream it or whatever.
Yeah. Or have the DVDs.
Or have the DVDs like us. Yeah.
Okay, so Road Warrior.
Mm-hmm.
Phenomenal episode.
Yep.
Absolutely love it. I think it's just amazing. I can't praise it enough. I think it's so funny. Martin gets his new license plate, the Road Warrior. He wants to, he doesn't want to. He initially is just doing it to bling out his Winnebago.
Mm-hmm.
But when Niles and Frasier's New Year's plans at Chez Henri fall through, quite literally, probably, when it burns down.
Yep.
Worthy of O. Henry.
O. Henry.
O. Henry.
Yeah, what is it? He's got
I love that joke.
Paper mache space needle that he accidentally sets on fire with a caramelizing torch.
Where
are you bruleeing? I'm sorry, they're going to stand that close to a giant paper mache sculpture while you're creme bruleeing? That's not a good idea.
So they need to find alternative New Year's plans. Martin offers to Frasier offers to try and get tickets, like plane tickets or train tickets or whatever, to go through to a bash in, where is it they say? Is it Nebraska or something? Wyoming?
Wine country. It's
wine country. Where is wine country?
Sun Valley, which is in California. Oh no, it's not. It must not be in California, because they make a
'cause
joke that they're not going to California.
They go east.
But they are going...
They go like southeast.
Oh, they do go... They do go east, you're right.
Because they end up in like Idaho.
Because they talk about how they went to... Niles ends up in Oregon.
Yeah.
Which would be south.
Yeah.
Like dead south. So... Oh, there you go, Idaho.
Idaho.
So that's...
Sun Valley is in Idaho.
Pretty much, I guess, straight east.
Yeah.
Really. Because Seattle isn't super far north. It's actually sort of like southwest of Washington State.
Yeah.
and I think it's sort of the southern side of the East Coast that borders with Idaho, if I remember correctly.
My geography's crap as well.
Yeah, my states aren't particularly good. I apologize to those. Any of our listeners from Sun Valley or from Seattle. We actually have quite a few listeners in Seattle. Do you know that?
I didn't.
Every so often I look at the demographics for like location, and it's like by city. It's like on it like London, Los Angeles, and Seattle are like cool. 3 of the big ones.
I wonder how Seattleites see Frasier.
Yeah,
I wonder if they treat it as, something great happened in their city, or if they curse his very name for popularizing Seattle as Frasier's hometown kind of thing.
At my
not even his hometown, but you know what I mean.
Previous job, when I was working in a museum here in Scotland, occasionally got people from all over the States and various different parts of the world would come over, and I would chat away with them about where they were from. And I remember there was a guy, and he was there with his family, and he was from Seattle, and he came in and kind of just chatting with him and asked where he was from, and he said he was from Seattle, and I pretty much immediately, because it's my favorite show, clearly couldn't contain my excitement, and I said like Frasier, I love Frasier, and he was not having it. He was not happy about that at all. He was like, yes, from Frasier, can I go now? And I'm like, oh boy, okay. No. Maybe that was just him being grumpy, but like I get the feeling that maybe some people are a bit sick of that always getting associated with it.
I'm not gonna lie, I probably would be. Yeah. Imagine if you're from Seattle and you're a show like Frasier is just popular everywhere. Like I imagine all across America and probably a lot of the UK as well will know Seattle because of Frasier.
Yeah.
So if that, I can imagine that would get annoying if that's the only thing your city is known for.
Yeah.
So apologies.
I get really wound up when people always associate Scotland with Trainspotting, the film or the book Trainspotting, which is about drug addicts. It's about like heroin addicts, and that's like it's about like it's accurate because there's a bit of a drug problem in Scotland. It's not. If you live in Scotland, you'll know that we do have our fair share of drug users, unfortunately.
I mean, it's not. It's a relatively accurate.
I know, but I don't like that about it. I would much rather be associated with something like Frasier than something like Trainspotting.
Or what about Mel Gibson? Would you rather Mel Gibson yelling freedom?
Yeah, no, I don't like that. Especially considering, as they mention in a couple of discs' time, he's Australian. He's not even.
He is.
He's not even Scottish, and yet everyone.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Right. Okay. Can I finish off?
No.
This
Suffer. No, of course you can.
We were so
Please
close.
Continue.
Yeah. So as they travel across the country, they stop at a couple of little red cabins, which I don't know if they're real or not. I
would guess not.
Maybe not. Sort of supposed to be like a Wendy's or Little Chef or whatever you have.
Little Chef we've got here.
Just diners at the side of the road, and Niles, being absolutely exhausted, as I mentioned before, he was woken up at the crack of dawn and bundled into the Winnebago. Accidentally gets into the wrong Winnebago, owned by an older man and his mother. What are the names?
I don't think it's his mother.
He does say.
He does. This always confused me. I think this is supposed to be, and I apologize if this is considered a slightly offensive term. I think it's like a hillbilly thing of like older couples will refer to each other as like mom and dad, because it's kind of a habit that you get into if you've got kids, where you'll like refer to the other one as mom. Yeah. Or mom or whatever. And like I've only really heard it in the context of people who are supposed to be like rural and from that part of the US.
Okay.
Kind of do it. Maybe I'm totally misunderstanding it, and it is supposed to be his mother.
I was going to say, because they are both relatively elderly.
Similar age.
Yeah.
At the very least.
Which has always confused me, because he does say mom, and I'm like, how much older is she? She looks younger than him.
There is also a line when she refers to him as dad.
Oh.
Or pop or pa or something like that.
Does she?
Yeah, it's when they're in the restaurant again and she says like, how's your sandwich, dad, or whatever.
Oh, I thought she calls him Dan.
No, his name's Clifford.
Oh, that makes more sense. He is called Clifford.
He is called Clifford.
Clifford.
And it's yeah, like they're really funny, the two of them together.
They are good.
Yeah, that did always
okay. So maybe that makes
me.
sense. They just call each other Ma and Pa or whatever.
And I don't know where that comes from. If you are more familiar, if anyone is listening and you're more familiar with why people do that, please let us know, because I am interested.
Yeah, no, that.
And I feel like it's if I Google it, I'm not going to get a straight answer. So please do let me know.
Yeah. So yeah, Niles is abducted by Ma and Pa, and he after they stop at another little red cabin to get another bite to eat, Niles steals their Winnebago, thinking that it's Martin's that's been stolen from him.
Yeah. And
goes on a bit of a joyride. And after Frasier and Martin have already set off in the complete opposite direction, they they realize Niles is not in their RV, and they're separated and whatnot, and just all the confusion. So eventually they end up back at the original little red cabin, the original diner. Niles was helping Big Sandy look after the register.
Yeah.
And they ring in the new year in a little red cabin. But that's not all.
Yeah.
Then Martin, in a stroke of genius, realizes that they are just past midnight in Mountain Time. Mm-hmm. But if they can get to a Pacific time zone...
I think it's the other way around.
No.
Is it? No, yeah. No, sorry, you are right enough. Pacific time would be the further west, so it would be midnight.
No,
it would be, it would still be
but
11
he says
Pacific time.
Does he not?
I don't know. I'm crap with time zones. I can never remember what way around it goes.
Because he says so it's 5 past midnight or whatever. Yeah, but 5 past midnight Mountain Time. It's still 11:05 in Pacific time. Is that not what he said? I'm sure that's what he says.
And then he goes the other way. Yeah. Either way, they're because
the Pacific would be
the Pacific would be the west coast. So that would be like Seattle time. Idaho time, it would be after midnight.
I'm gonna Google this later because that's confusing me. But I'm sure that's what he says. He does say
it probably is.
Anyway, right. So they decide to hit the road again and try and get across the time zone in under an hour. And at the last possible second, they make it. Mm-hmm. And the three of them plus Eddie in his little tuxedo.
Oh, it's so cute.
Eddie's got some great outfits in this disc. They ring in the new year in the wilderness with the coyotes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's just it's such a wholesome ending. I love it. I love that they make it across the lines and they don't need a big party or huge celebration or anything. It's just the Crane lads and their dog.
Yeah.
In a Winnebago, ringing in the new year together.
The three of them and a good bottle of wine. What more do you need?
It's a great episode. It's really funny. It's got again, it is a little bit on the simpler side when it comes to the plot. It's just them on a road trip, basically. But it's so funny.
Yeah.
And it's so wholesome. And just, it's such a great episode. I love it. Mm-hmm. I gave it a full 5. I'm gonna.
You know what? I am actually also going to. I wasn't sure if I would, but I am going to give it a 5 as well because it does deserve it. It's very funny. Got lots of good jokes in it. The premise is pretty well done. It's got a nice, sweet ending.
Yeah. The one thing, right, if I'm going to pick holes, okay, the one thing that bothers me about it, right, is it's meant to be set as a flashback.
Yeah.
But we only get one scene establishing that. So the very first scene in the episode is Frasier and Roz meeting in the new year.
Yeah.
Roz says she was at a party and whatever, and then Frasier says, well, let me tell you how our new year was. And then it flashes back to the previous couple of days ago, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. But then there's no back and forward. There's no it's not a vignette. They don't end with Frasier and Roz again saying, and that's how my new year was. It just kind of establishes that it feels like a sort of tacked on scene just to establish that Roz is still there.
Yeah.
There's not really any need for it. So that kind of bothers me a little bit, but not enough to take any points off, to be honest. Mm-hmm. I still love it. I think it's great.
Yeah. Yeah. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
And this is actually the only episode in this disc that I would say has a notable guest star. It's not a guest caller on the
I was going to say, actually, yeah, we've
On the phone.
not had any guest
Not really
calls
had
this
any.
entire disc.
And unfortunately, I can't remember the name of the character, Clifford's wife/mother. I did look up the actress's name. I unfortunately couldn't see that I recognised her from anything particularly well known or, so apologies. Although I did see that she is into her 90s and still acting. So good for her.
You're supposed to be the guest man.
I know, but
How did you not write the name down?
I forgot.
You clown.
I didn't. Yeah. I just didn't. 'Cause I'm stupid. But the actor who plays Clifford, Anthony Zerba.
Oh, you remember his name?
I remember his name.
You just hate women, don't you? Sorry.
Oh boy.
Low hanging fruit.
Go there.
Sorry.
Okay. So Anthony Zerba, who I actually did recognize from various other things. He was in one of the James Bond films. He was in License to Kill.
All right.
One of the ones with Timothy Dalton.
Mm-hmm.
He was in Star Trek Insurrection, one of the odd-numbered Star Trek films, which is therefore terrible.
Is that TNG?
One of the Next Generation ones, yeah. He was in The Omega Man with Charlton Heston.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not entirely sure who he plays. I have seen The Omega Man, but it was quite a while ago I watched it. And he's in The Dead Zone.
Oh.
Which
I like The Dead Zone.
I really enjoy. I know you enjoy as well. The David Cronenberg, Stephen King adaptation.
The ice is gonna break!
Yeah. It's actually... Anthony Zerba is the guy that he's shouting at.
Is it? Is it the kid's son? Dad, sorry.
Yeah, the dad of the kid that almost drowns in the ice when the ice breaks.
Well, there you go.
Is played by Anthony Zerba.
Rebecca Schull.
Rebecca Schull. There you go.
Is her name.
I'm sorry, Rebecca Schull. I'm sorry I didn't remember your
There's
name.
actually also, right, and I noticed this because I recognise him from The X-Files.
Mm-hmm.
But the farmer that Frasier gets up and talks to at the diner, he says he's so just pretentious. He's like, I want to reacquaint myself with Middle America, and finds this like random guy to go up and talk to. A man named Wayne Grace, who's a character actor, has been in countless things, but you might know him from Friday the 13th Part 4, the final chapter. It's actually not the final chapter.
Absolutely not.
But he plays the cop, the Officer Jameson.
I probably wouldn't recognise him. I have seen Friday the 13th Part 4.
Yeah. But I recognised him from, I think he's in season 2 of The X-Files.
I've probably seen the episode that he's in.
He's got a very cop-like presence.
Yeah. He's
got the mustache, sort of balding hair, very distinctive presence. But he's also quite prolific, maybe not quite the word, but he's done a lot of voice roles.
All right.
I didn't notice him having a particularly notable voice, but he has done a lot of voice roles in video games and animation and everything. So yeah, couple of good guest stars in this one, but no guest voices, guest callers.
Voices. We've not
the whole disc.
Barely
in fact,
got any.
Did we have any in the last disc as well? I remember having this conversation. I think there was maybe one or two. Possibly not.
I'm going to quickly double check my notes because I do have them open in front of me.
There's been so few scenes at KCL.
I think it's... Oh, it probably is partly that. I was going to say it's maybe because the show is getting a little bit better known at this point. People were probably more drawn to on-screen guest appearances rather than voice-only guest appearances that would be like one or two lines.
Yeah, it's true.
Did we have? No, I don't think we did have any.
Maybe not. And actually, I don't even know if we have any in the next disc as well.
Not really that I can think of.
Oh no, we actually do.
Oh well, we've got
some big ones actually.
With something about Dr. Mary being a KACL episode. We've got a couple.
Yeah, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that next week. For now, shall we round off this episode with some highlights?
Yeah.
Any notable ones from this disc?
Well, I don't know what I could give it to. Why don't you go first? Do you have one in mind?
I do, actually. I do. I was thinking about it and noted it down for the first time ever. I often just come up with them on the fly
Yeah.
after chatting about them, but I noted this one down. The scene in the apparent trap when Freddy's playing his PlayStation or whatever it is he's playing in the back bedroom, and Niles comes in and he's sort of saying hi and bye, and he's heading down the road, and then he catches his eye on the television and the game, and he picks up the controller, and Freddy tells him how to play and gives him a shot of it, and Niles keeps killing the main character.
Yeah.
He can't get out the tutorial level of the game, and I love Freddy's line. It's just delivered so well, and he's like, wow, I've never seen the guy trip and fall before. And I don't know why it's so funny, because obviously that wouldn't happen in a video game, but it's just the idea of Niles being so bad at games that it's just, they're just inherently against him, and he's killing characters in ways that we didn't even know were possible. I just love that. I think that's so funny.
It is pretty good. I actually, looking at it now, looking over the episodes and trying to remember bits that I really like, I might actually have to give it to a very, very similar bit, but something that happens a little bit later on, when Lilith is starting to become a bit paranoid that Frasier is hitting on her. That's like, obviously these misunderstandings that are being created by Freddy. And she goes in to talk to Niles about it, while Niles he's sort of like lying with his feet up on the bed playing this video game. And Lilith comes in and starts talking to him about it. It's like, the whole scene is really funny. Like, she knocks on the door, and Niles says, like, oh, thinking it's Frederick, says, like, it's still my turn, I've not died yet. And then when Lilith says, no, it's me, you just hear the character die going, ah!
Yeah.
Screams. And then they sit and they talk for a little while, with Lilith saying, like, I'm concerned that Frasier's hitting on me, that it's this and that and whatever. And they talk about it a little while, and then, with her mind slightly put to rest, Lilith takes the controller from Niles and then just proceeds to kick ass at this video game. And I can't remember at what point it is, but I think it's BB Newworth with her hair down, wearing like a very nice outfit, being very good at video games. And there's something about that I really like watching, because I really fancy BB Newworth.
Yeah, I feel that.
That's my highlight.
Do you think BB Newworth would want to come on the show and play video games with us?
My life would be complete.
We'll see. We'll maybe invite her for like a bonus episode once we finish the series.
You know, there's a Frasier card game.
Is there?
Yeah, it's a fan-made card game. That's somewhere online, and you can like print out the cards and cut it out. And I've kind of meant to do that, because I have played it before, but I've played it because someone converted it into a I don't know if you're familiar with Tabletop Simulator, the video game. Someone converted it into that, so you can play that, and I've played it a few times on that, and it's quite a lot of fun.
Okay.
It's sort of similar to Flux, the card game Flux.
Yeah.
But it's all about assembling a dinner party with all of these Frasier characters, and you can kind of play mishaps.
That sounds great.
It's really fun.
That sounds amazing.
I should actually print that off. And we can
if it's on Tabletop Simulator, we could do that. We could record that.
Yeah, we could.
There we go. Bonus episode.
Yeah.
Have a think about that. Well, for now, that is disc 2.
Disc 2 of season 7.
Disc 2 of season 7.
Mm-hmm.
We will be back next week with disc 3.
Yeah.
I am currently in the process of some personal movings.
Yeah.
Moving house at the moment and whatnot.
This is the last time we're going to be recording in this.
It is.
In this
Actually,
room.
This is the last time we'll be in my tiny little studio room in this house.
This is where the podcast started, and now this is the last time we're going to be recording in here.
Yeah, we'll have a bigger, better room in the next house. Don't worry.
Yeah, that'll be nice. But this is where it started.
I know.
This is where it started.
So there may perchance be some delays in upcoming episodes. We're not sure yet. We're keeping it light, and hopefully we've got enough of a backlog to keep us going. But if not, we apologise.
We have.
I apologise.
This episode and the previous couple have been recorded with a bit of a leeway in advance. So hopefully, barring any issues, we'll still be able to put stuff out weekly.
Yeah.
If we don't and you're busy with house moving stuff, we can always try and get something sorted.
Yeah, we'll have a think, but hopefully it won't
Or
come
maybe
to that.
Get something out.
Yes. But until then, what is it again? Oh, good. Yeah, okay. No, I got it. Don't worry. That's cool. That's
Okay.
cool. Have a great day. Have good mental health. And thank you for listening.
I don't think we said our names at the beginning. I've just suddenly realised I don't think we said our names at the beginning. We forgot.
Oh, well, you're Ewan.
I am Ewan, and you're Fraser.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Bye.
Yeah.
This has been a Happy Brothers podcast. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at HappyBrosPod.
All opinions are our own, and as always, special thanks to Leah O'Donnell for the show's artwork.